have to do things. So, it is Luke now. Luke 11, starting at verse 33. That's fine. Okay, yeah. A strange line. Okay, the lamp of the body. No one lights a lamp and puts it in a place where it will be hidden, or under a bowl. Instead, he puts it on a stand, so that those who come in may see the light. Your eye is the lamp of your body. When your eyes are good, your whole body also is full of light. But when they are bad, your body also is full of darkness. See to it then that the light within you is not darkness. Therefore, if your whole body is full of light, and no part of it dark, it will be completely lit, as when the light of a lamp shines on you. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. How's that? Is that okay? Lovely, thank you. Some of you, well, all of you will know that Samuel and Rodri, who's way up there somewhere, are ordained Baptist ministers. And for the first 3 years of being an ordained Baptist minister, the Baptist Union, in their wisdom, decide that you have to do some further studies. And you can imagine how keen Rodri and Samuel have been to do all of that. It's been a pain-free process for both of them. And as under God's grace and His purpose, both of them have sort of done it at roughly about the same pace, and both of them have now arrived at the point where they've completed their further studies, which means in the Baptist Union Assembly this year, the two of them, not just one, ladies and gentlemen, but two, will be going up on the stage to get a handshake from the president of the Baptist Union. I think that's what we're at. We are on the theme of darkness and light this morning. Samuel and Rodri, you can work it out for yourselves. And we're really looking at, I wonder if that verse could go back. I don't know whether the little clip is funny. There it is, lovely. If we could just focus on that for a little while. I guess all of us love both the light and a lot of the time the dark as well. Both of them are really nice times of the day, aren't they? Sometimes when you've got a fresh day and the sun's come out, it's dawn, it's a lovely time to be out. The light is just so pure. And light is a wonderful thing. But of course, light can also be quite harmful. We have a big problem in our world today with light pollution. So light has a good and a negative side to it. And it's true with darkness too. Those 1 or 2 nights or evenings that we get somewhere in July or August, when you're actually out to sit out in the garden without an umbrella, and the moon is out and the stars are bright, it's just lovely, isn't it? There's something very special about the night sky. So there's something good about darkness as well, but also there's something frightening about darkness too. I guess all of us, when we were a bit younger, maybe we still think of it now. You wake up in the middle of the night and your wardrobe's moving towards you with big tree things and all of that. So, we're a mixture as far as light and darkness are concerned. There's both a good side and a bad side, a difficult side to light and to darkness. But what you find in the Bible is that light and darkness are used as metaphors. They're used as ways of explaining something very important. And I think probably all of us very easily can catch on to that. Because simply light and darkness are contrasted in this sense. Light is always associated with goodness and with God and His kingdom. Darkness, on the other hand, is always associated with what is bad, what is of the kingdom of darkness, and what is of Satan. So there's like these two symbols or metaphors that are used to describe what is good, what is of God, and as he preached and he acted, he talked about himself as the light of the world. Jesus was the one who had come to switch God's light on, so that everyone who met with Jesus, everybody who saw him teach and heal people, and all the things that Jesus was involved in, it was like God had put the light on. The light of Jesus was shining. And inevitably, because we live in a world that is full of light and darkness, that would lead to conflict. And at times when Jesus came as the light of the world, there was lots of darkness that confronted him. Remember a couple of weeks ago, we saw how the mute man, the one who couldn't speak, was possessed by a demon. And the demon was driven out by Jesus. And there you've got a wonderful example of the confrontation between light and darkness. What is of God and what isn't of God? What's of God's kingdom and what is of the kingdom of darkness? You have both of those things powerfully illustrated there. But of course, Jesus met other kinds of darkness while he ministered and talked to people. He met people who had closed minds. And I think a closed mind is a form of darkness. Because when you've got a closed mind, you're not willing to see, you're not willing to look with an open mind to discover something very new and something very fresh. And Jesus met all that kind of darkness as well in people's lives. He also met the darkness of sin and disobedience. There was lots and lots of darkness around. And Jesus, because he was the light of the world, always seemed to challenge that. And remember how John, who writes the fourth story of Jesus, the fourth gospel, remember how he had said, right at the very beginning, he said, you know, when Jesus came into the world, God's light came into the world. And no matter how thick the darkness was, no matter how deep the darkness was, no matter how bad the darkness was, the darkness could never overcome the light of Jesus. And so, in the gospel stories, you have light and darkness. Jesus, the kingdom of God, all that is good, and this confrontation with the kingdom of darkness, what is wrong and what is misshapen in our world. I guess if that was true of Jesus' day, it would also be true of today. When we look at our world, our wonderful world, our world that is full of goodness and grace and lots of lovely things, full of lovely people, doing good and positive things, I think we're aware as well that there's also a negative side to our world. Not only is there light and goodness, but there is also darkness and sometimes out-and-out evil. We look at our world, and we've already focused on it this morning. We look at a world of exploitation. That's about darkness. That's not of the kingdom of God. We look at a world where there's racism. That's not of God. That's of the kingdom of darkness. We look at a world where there's pornography, where there's abuse, where there's exploitation, where people live in poverty, where trade isn't fair. We live in that kind of world. There is darkness all around us. And when Jesus comes, and because we're followers of Jesus, that has to be challenged. That has to be confronted. And when Jesus comes, he comes to turn on the light so that the darkness might be no more, and that so everyone might know the light of what it means to be loved and to live in God through Jesus. And so Jesus came, and he says in verse 33, which is his first metaphor, his first description, because I think there are two little descriptions here, two metaphors. The first one is in verse 33. He says, no one lights a lamp and puts it in a place where it will be hidden or under a bowl. Instead, he puts it on a stand, so that those who come in may see the light. That's why Jesus brought his message and his life and his action and his words into the public place. He didn't keep it to himself, he didn't hide away. Jesus was involved in the public place. Why? Because that's what we do with light. Light has to be displayed. Light mustn't be hidden. We've got lovely lights on in here this morning. Well, some of them are on anyway. This one will probably go off in a minute, just to illustrate light and darkness again. But, you know, we need light, and light mustn't be